Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first episode of Moving the Magnets in 2025. It's back for another year. For those who are joining for the first time and want to know what Moving the Magnets entails, well, on a Thursday, when there is a Sunday game like there is this weekend, the extended teams come out at 6:20 p.m. So as they come out, we'll dissect it all and have some discussions about matchups and what teams are being selected, right? Because the game's on Sunday, we have the extended teams tonight. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., the final teams come out where the extended bench pretty much gets cut short. So we'll also have another Moving the Magnets part 2 tomorrow. We'll probably start at like 4:30, 4:45 and have a brief discussion as the teams come out tomorrow. So plenty of on the agenda. As I mentioned, the extended teams will come out at 6:20, but a bit of news on the Collingwood front with our recruitment side of things, as well as just some interesting notes I took from the crisp 250 game milestone press conference he had yesterday with my Checkable Hoskin Elliott there. So it'll be interesting. I dove a little bit deeper into some of the conversations they were having, particularly around the age profile, with Collingwood having, 10 players over the age of 30 going into this season. I actually found some really interesting data that gives us a bit of solace in knowing that everything's going to be okay despite our age profile. So stick around for that. But first and foremost, let's talk about Shane O'Brien. We all know Shane O'Brien, former Collingwood player, actually started his career as a Brisbane Lion. He has been picked up as the recruitment manager for the Pies since Adam Shepherd has departed to the Eagles. Now, you can see there's that Brisbane connection there with Shane O'Brien, who will now be working directly under Justin Lepich, who is the list manager of the Collingwood Football Club, taking over from Derek Hine. So, and then Fly McRae, who's obviously been at Brisbane. So they've spent a lot of time with each other beyond just what we're about to see now. The other interesting thing, or many different, I guess, interesting points to bring up about this. So it talks about Adam Shepherd going to West Coast. He was pretty much the heir apparent for Derek Hine. For whatever reason, Shepherd went over to West Coast. I think it was, look, I don't know if it's politics within the club or whatever that may be, but the role itself at West Coast that was proposed to Shepherd sounds enticing. It sounds creative. It sounds contemporary. The role was stated as a draft strategy player movement manager. And that's the role that Shepherd accepted at West Coast. Well, yeah, he'd spent 14 years as a talent ID manager at Collingwood, going way back to 2010, the Premiership days. So it's interesting for sure. Shane O'Brien actually comes from being under the tutelage of Stephen Wells from Geelong, who you can see what they've done with their recruitment and list management. You probably say we're aspiring to do exactly that, what they've done at Geelong. So the three candidates that were in mind had all worked under Stephen Wells. So you had Shane O'Brien, who worked with Stephen Wells. You had Shane O'Brien coaching as an assistant and as a head coach at Geelong for the VFL side. And then he also had Anthony Parkin and Liam Woodland in the race for this job, being the recruitment management for the Collingwood Football Club. So Anthony Parkin, actually the son of AFL legend David Parkin. Parkin was a talent manager at the Eastern Rangers and has been at Port for the last 10 years as a recruitment officer for talent acquisition in Victoria and Tasmania. So Shane O'Brien beat Parkin to the race there, but Parkin had done some work with Stephen Wells and then also Liam Woodland, talent scout at Geelong for 12 years under Stephen Wells and currently a recruitment officer at Fremantle for less than a year at the moment. He was employed back in April 2024. So we've got look, it's just sort of like a full circle kind of moment for Shane O'Brien, having played for Collingwood, gets to rekindle his relationships with Leper and Fly. He comes with great wisdom from the best to do it in Stephen Wells at Geelong. Really excited to see Shane O'Brien wearing the black and white in a different way now. So that's great. That's really great. Let's go, champ. Boomer. Revenge of the Pies. Lockie Schultz to have a big one. Huge. Stefanos Diakanis. Champs. Steve-O, how are you, mate? Let's go. Blake, how you doing? How you doing? All right. So that's Shane O'Brien. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was Jack Crisp with that interview he had yesterday leading into his 250th game milestone that we're going to see against GWS. So he had the interview standing by Will Hoskin-Elliott and Brody Myercheck, his best mates at the club, and provided some really handy insight. So one of the interviewers or the journos asked Crisp, what do you think about the age profile of the club, having 10 players over the age of 30? Are you concerned? And Chris said, no, I'm not concerned. He sort of referenced how the league is playing a lot longer these days. Players are more durable. They're playing later into their life. And I figured, well, what does that look like from a numbers perspective? So I did some research. ChatGPT helped me out with this one using some spreadsheets. Now, in 2014, now these are absolute numbers before we talk about averages, so we can use them both as reference points. In 2014, the AFL had 61 players over the age of 30 in 2014. 61 players, yeah? So that's what? That's like a list and a half of AFL players that are playing over the age of 30 in 2014. I'm not too sure how big the lists were back then. I don't imagine it being much smaller than what it is right now, or much bigger, vice versa. In 2024, so the year just gone by, there were 118 players over the age of 30 playing AFL in 2024, right? That's pretty much a 100% increase to what we saw 10 years ago in the AFL when it comes to the total amount of players over the age of 30 playing footy. To tie that into the mean, the average, in 2024, the average age of players, all the players on the list, on the all AFL lists, sits at 25.34 years old. So 25.35 if you want to round it up. 10 years ago, we were looking at the average age being 24 and a half. So basically, what does that indicate to me? You're probably looking at players extending their career on average by a year or two with the emphasis and the resources available to ensure that your body can back it up on a week-to-week basis. You have the science, you have the anecdotes, and you put it all together, and that's what you get, right? Crisp in particular attributes his durability and resilience in his body to focusing on his body outside of the club, outside of the four walls. And it's something I've been a big advocate for, just for any athlete at professional level. The soft cap, I think we spoke to Attila, the physio, maybe a month or so ago, about Nick Dacos and his plantar fasciitis and running mechanics and how important it is to invest in yourself as a player outside of the four walls of the AFL club you play for, because of the salary cap limits that these clubs have. Meaning, okay, they bring in someone like Matt Viney, the body movement specialist, or he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so teaching tackling craft. But beyond that, when you're looking at say stretching modalities, running mechanics, proper gym, these things come out of that player's pocket, independent or away from what they actually earn within their or what they get as a perk being an AFL player. They have to pay for these type of things out of their pocket. So that's something Jack Crisp is doing to help extend his career. And talking about Jordan Ngowi, he went to Dubai, invested. I'm sure that was funded by the club, but for a lot of players that who don't have these chronic issues before they get there, they should be more willing to spend money on their body outside of the club because of the salary cap restrictions that these clubs are faced with. So I thought that was really interesting. Very interesting. Hey, Melissa, how you doing? Teams cruise, they come out at 6:20. Digsby's here, extended squad. So 6:20 extended squads. Tomorrow, 5 o'clock is the final team. So we will definitely be here again tomorrow about 4:30, 4:45. We'll stick around for a bit and discuss the final teams. Kynan, here he is. AFL Club YouTube, how you going? G'day. A mate of mine came to Melbourne from America. We watched the Pies train. He thought Scott Benelby was 25 years old. I told him he was 36 years old. He didn't believe till he Googled it. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? What Pendles is able to achieve. Hey, brother. Mello, how you going? Claz, all these 30 plus are going to play a lot younger than the media believes. Yeah, well, the numbers there, hey, the numbers there that I've just put together and been able to display and make sense of probably do suggest that is more or less going to be the case. You look at Geelong, what they did in 22, how they bounced back after missing finals in 23, and then tie that in with the fact that the resources we have available are just being able to extend these AFL players' careers even longer. Can Cox play? Steve, Cox is injured. Fractured finger, unfortunately. Slobbo, how you going? How many tackles do you reckon Pez will lay against his old side? I don't know. It's going to be a shocking type of game for as far as the weather's concerned. So if it's going to be wet and sloppy, then maybe you wouldn't be surprised if someone like Harry Perryman gets 10 tackles, right? So anyhow, moving on to the next one. So that's crisp. Frustrated Myercheck. So Myercheck actually spoke as well to the media in that milestone presser. And he was talking about how frustrated he was, and it sort of lit a fire under his backside again to bounce back, which is much the case for most of the players at Collingwood last year. A lot of them had or were riddled by injuries. Myercheck more than most, right? He only played 11 games, and for Myercheck, that's a significant decrease in game output relative to what his career looks like in the AFL. I think since 2018, he's probably averaged, or he has averaged at least 20 games a year, dating back to 2018. But while he dealt with injuries last year, his performance in those games was still good. He was still getting his 2 goals a game, playing as this. I always call him as like a makeshift key forward. He just doesn't have the traits of a McStay to take those towering marks. He's more of a battering ram, and he's like a bigger version of Myercheck, not Myercheck, Lockie Schultz, and we call Lockie Schultz a mini Myercheck. So the other one was Will Hoskin-Elliott. He was asked, well, where is Will Hoskin-Elliott going to play to begin the year? And it's going to be the forward line. So if we look at Collingwood's forward line, right? So you got Membry, McStay, Myercheck, and then you got Bo, Bobby, Billy, Lockie, and Hoskin-Elliott, right? So you'd probably say to start the game, for example, on the weekend, you have McStay, Myercheck, Bo, Bobby, Billy, Lockie, and then on the bench you probably have like a Membry and Will Hoskin-Elliott who will come through in the rotations. Now, whether Will Hoskin-Elliott plays as a sub is something we'll probably know. We will know more about tomorrow, not so much today. But it's pretty tall. It is pretty tall, that forward line, given the wet weather conditions. So, yeah, you definitely want players like Bo, Bobby, Billy, Lockie. These are the types of players that are you're really hoping can have a big game, especially against a really, really strong GWS forward line when it comes to their small forward, medium-sized department. We'll get to that in a moment. I don't want to digress, but we're definitely going to talk about that, because the next thing I want to talk about is Mick McGowan's doing some work in the Herald Sun. He's doing articles, and his most recent one was a pressure cooker for coaches, and he had Fly at number 6 in the league for pressure. So my question to you guys in the chat is Fly under pressure in 2025? Like, what are the expectations objectively and subjectively? So for me, objectively, I think a pass mark for Fly McRae, if you want to put numbers on it, is probably at the very least a prelim final berth. And then some sub, I guess, categories where we can tick off as the year goes by is, what does he do with his selection? What is his commentary throughout the season? What are his reactions in game when we're up, when we're down? What does he do different? I think 22, 23, we were in the honeymoon phase. We got that flag. We got what we wanted from the man. He brought it with the help of Nick Dacos and co, of course. So now it's like, all right, what can you do now that we've won a flag? We've missed finals. We've recruited extremely well. Extremely well. Like, if you look at what we've done, we brought in Membry, Houston, Perryman, yeah? Who did we get rid of that fulfilled those spots previously? Nathan Kruger, John Noble, and you can throw Joe Richards in there with a bunch of other delistings as well. But I don't think there's been once this preseason where we've said, damn, fuck, really feel like we're going to miss Noble, or really feel like we're going to miss Kruger or Joe Richards. Hasn't been that conversation, because we have simply improved our squad in those positions. And we've added centre bounce depth with Harry Perryman. Josh Dacos and Houston off the half backline. Come on. Seriously. So I mentioned selection with Craig McRae, right? And it probably starts tonight/tomorrow. Who, with Dan Houston not available, who does Fly look to bring in? To me, it's 3 options, right? You got Oleg Markov, you got Will Parker, you got Jacob Ryan, and then maybe further down the line, you got like a TJ and a Di Mattia. So before we jump the gun, I know some of you are probably thinking it doesn't really matter because they're only going to play one game and then Houston comes back. I understand that. But these players, all 5 of those players, are versatile in the role they can offer for the club. Leggy can play wing. Leggy has played forward, albeit not a great deal. Will Parker, probably the least versatile of them all, probably a genuine halfback flanker. Jacob Ryan, winger, halfback. So that's another big test already for Fly. He has a big decision to make, and he's going to have to wear it. Does he go with his love child, Oleg Markov, who, to be fair, has been training really well in preseason? I asked myself, based on what I've seen at training and in game, who would you take out of those 3? In the here and now, for me, it is Oleg Markov, because he just stands out a little bit more, first and foremost. He's a bit more defensively sound than Parker and Ryan. Leggy's a bit taller than both of them. I think Leggy is 6'2". Parker's probably 5'11". Jacob Ryan is 6 foot, or 6'1" maybe. So that's something Leggy has, and he has experience playing as a genuine defender. But once again, like, looking at our opposition, does it matter if we play tall? Like, should we, in the back line, should we look to play a little bit shorter? Should we look to play a bit shorter and have Ryan or Parker there? Because if we let me pull up the GWS forward department. Let's go. Okay. So you've got Brent Daniels, right? Who isn't tall. You've got Harvey Thomas. You've got Toby McMullen. You've got Toby Green. You've got Darcy Jones. Connor Stone, who'll play backline. So, and then you probably got Jake Riccardi, Aaron Cadman in there. I'm not sure what they're doing with Lee Kalia. Callum Brown is there. So to be fair, like there's what? You got Daniels. How tall is McMullen? Let me just check. But you got Brent Daniels, who's very short, right? And Brent Daniels is someone, that's all, 172, who's quite short. Brent Daniels, guys, in my opinion, is everything we want Bobby Hill to be in 2025. Now, don't get upset, okay? I know that they're quite different players, right? I just feel like Brent Daniels, he gets the fundamentals right and does them really, really well. So, what, in 2024, he had 25 coaches' votes. This is Brent Daniels, 18 disposals. What else did he have? He kicked 23 goals to average a goal a game and did better than where Bobby Hill thrived the most, and that's goal assists. He had 1.5 goal assists per game. Does he take as many hangers as Bobby? No. Does he put bums on seats like Bobby does? No. Does he dazzle like Bobby? No. But just from a consistency side of things, I'm sure Bobby wants to be more like Brent Daniels. So these are the types of players we'll be looking at throughout the course of the games. Oh, the game in particular. Okay, let's catch up on the comments. We did, Steve. We talked about it in the live stream yesterday. Phil Perryman is our version. That's a great comparison. I think he'll play on Finn Callahan. I really do. When you look at Tom Green out of the side, you've got what? You got Cornelio, you got Kelly, you've got Bedford. I think Harry Perryman's the best matchup. I think we definitely have depth, 100%, more than last year, and we have availability. I'm certainly not questioning. I'm more so just talking about what we hope from him this year. What are the expectations, and what are the subcategories of those expectations? It was more of a conversation stemming from Mick McGowan's report in the Herald Sun, talking about the pressure cooker. He had Fly McRae as number 6 in the pressure gauge. Certainly not questioning him. Leggy in wet and difficult conditions this week. It's going to be a stoppage fest. There you go. Yeah, Dularina, I think you're getting a little bit sappy there. I'm certainly not having a crack at Fly. I'm just you know what? Here's the thing, guys. Like I'm going to speak my mind. I remain impartial from the club because I don't want to get one-itis, and I'm just having open dialogue about, so I guess, the way things can transpire, whether it goes our way, whether it doesn't, what we expect from certain people within the club. It's a healthy conversation. Harvey Thomas and Toby McMullen are suspended. Okay. So they're definitely going to be shorthanded then in the back line. It's going to in the forward line. Certainly, it's definitely a nice game for someone like Reef McInnes to warm into. If you've got players like those just mentioned out, along with Hogan, Jake Stringer, I think it's a nice way to get his confidence up in an official AFL game. It's something, yeah. But then you can make the same argument. I mean, yes, Markov is the best performing defender right now in training and in game. But at the same time, it's like, do you not want to bleed in these Parkers, these Ryans, or whoever else it may be right now when there's opportunity to play against a weakened forward opposition? And we don't know what the ceiling is for players like Ryan and Parker just yet, but they've shown signs. Ryan is a machine. He covered the most distance in the preseason by far and away, right? So we know with Markov what you're going to get, right? And he's good, is good enough, and served us really well in that premiership year. Took an overall spot, right? But we know his ceiling at the same time, whereas we don't know the ceiling for these players who are young and budding and upcoming. And I'd say they're almost there. They're almost ready. And if they're almost ready, why not try them now? But you got Markov, who's, yeah, he just has a ceiling. And the question is, can Markov get back to that ceiling that he's been at in the past? 10 minutes, by the way, until we get the extended teams. I've gone for Collingwood this week. Don't let me down, lads. Now we got you. Yeah, there you go. Perfect timing, Team Mello. Perfect timing for Reeve, just to ease his way into it. Chris, how you going? How are you? Would go with Jacob Ryan this game. Good test to see how his development is coming along. Yeah, it's a good test, and like mold them in now in case we do need them later in the year. Give them a chance now. I'm not saying throw away your chances of winning a game. Do you really think that having Markov, Parker, or Ryan makes a difference between whether we win this game or not? I don't think so. But it is Craig's love child, Oleg Markov. So it is what it is. Stevie, round one. So what about Ed Allan? Yeah, John, I said, right? All right, Manny, you too. I'll get to you too, Manny. So we're talking about one game this week. Whoever gets his spot will come out next week for Houston. I understand that. But are they not also auditioning for potential other roles within the team, playing on the wing, right? So that's my argument there. Manny, you said we need early wins. Can't experiment this early. Is having Ryan or Parker in your team an experiment when Parker played AFL footy last year? Ryan has played, and Ryan has had a really promising preseason. And furthermore, do you really think having Markov in the team or not makes a difference? I don't think so. We're going to talk about Ed Allan as well, with Tom Mitchell and Jordan De Goey out, Team Mello. Harry, 71 views on Thursday. Good. Thanks, mate. I appreciate it. Yep. Well, I think it's just about time we all get together and have a yarn about the teams. That's what we're here for. Perfect time to select. So I don't think Demeter's been. He was initially injured, dealing with concussion. He's probably further down the line than further away than Will Parker, Ryan. I'd even say TJ might be ahead of Demeter. Parker, TJ's had a great preseason. So Ed Allan, what does his role look like? You tell me, guys, in the chat, right? I feel like from the end of the year, that game against Melbourne, all the way through to say now, the hype back then versus now has died off for Ed Allan for good reasons. Firstly, when we got Perryman, we weren't entirely certain from a fan perspective whether he would play in the middle or in the back line and how good he'd be in either position. It was sort of the unknown. And then throughout this preseason, at training, in games, we've seen Perryman go, fuck, this kid, he's got what we need. He's the Luke Ball of the pass. He runs both ways. For those of you who have recently joined the channel, there is a video where I did a video analysis on Perryman's midfield traits while playing for GWS back in 2022. And then I also did an analysis on a game against Collingwood where he did really well. So if you want to go through the archives there, I actually highlight some really important traits that Perryman possesses to be a really successful, defensively minded midfielder for Collingwood. So back to my point about Ed Allan, we didn't know how good Perryman could be in midfield. And I know the season hasn't even started yet, but all things are trending in the right direction for Perryman to be a mainstay there. And therefore means we don't have as much as a need for Ed Allan to be ready just yet. And that's okay. You remember, guys, let's go back 12 months ago. We needed Finlay McRae to break through. But he also had an amazing preseason. He blew a lot of people away that was watching him. I don't think Ed Allen's quite done the same. I think Ed Allen has definitely more of an X factor compared to like a Finlay McRae. Ed Allen's big. He's sizable like Paddy Cripps. Can't really kick the ball very well, which is why I don't think he will ever be a successful winger. But he's definitely going to be there to put his hand up as a really good inside midfielder and maybe some sort of outside game for the Pies. That's what we could see from say, an Ed Allen. But what type of role is he? Does he even get selected tonight? Will he be in the extended squad? He against Richmond, he played one quarter, had a lot of touches, probably didn't dispose the ball as well as he would have liked, but certainly some food for thought there. I'm not too sure where he stands right now. What do you guys think? Let's see. Manny, I'd rather play a premiership player that's played in big games. Fair enough. Parker to play, I reckon, says Klaz. I think we still need to get time into him. I have faith. It would be a huge addition if he could get to that AFL standard that a few people can see in him. All the young guys need to build their form in a VFL and press for a spot. None of them are getting gifted a game at this moment. We're chasing a premiership, not building a team. Yes? Good point. Both Allan and Ryan need to get their kicking skills to a high level before they get regular games. Need experience to cement the first few rounds. The other unfortunate thing is we don't see VFL footy for another 3 weeks. So that, I don't know. Is that how that's always ended up with the AFL starting well before the VFL? I feel like the VFL league would be hard, or the players who are AFL listed will feel hard done by, because how do you prove yourself in the early stage? Unless there's an injury, how do you prove yourself and show that you're ready to get an opportunity at AFL level if you can't strut your stuff at VFL early season? Yeah, so Bean can. So extended teams will come out in 3 minutes, and then tomorrow we'll come back at 4:30 for the final teams to be released at 5 o'clock. Got a lot to say, man. It's conversation, Manny. Would John Noble, great question, would John Noble and Joe Richards get a game in this current team? Well, Joe Richards left for the very reason that he couldn't get a game. So that's an easy no right now. And John Noble, the question today would be, instead of is it Markov, is it Markov, is it Parker, is it Ryan, it would be, is it Markov or is it Noble? That's what it would be. And given Josh Dacos is in that back line, you'd probably still go Markov in this situation, wouldn't you? Do you think Allan, Ryan, and Parker play this week for Collingwood? Well, we'll know more, but I'm not too sure about Allan. Maybe he'll play as a sub. I think Ryan will be on the Parker will be on the extended list, extended squad, and we'll know more tomorrow as well. Let me get up the AFL website. We have a big opportunity with these first 6 games, like all of the other clubs. So while we have Jordan De Goey in Houston out in the first round, we've got teams like Port Adelaide who are missing Rosie. We're playing teams like Carlton who are missing Walsh, or Walsh might play round 1, but they've had injury niggles. Who else do we have upcoming? Sydney, no Goulden. I've just completely blanked on who we're versing. Port Adelaide, we've already mentioned. Collingwood fixture. I'll bring it up. So you got, Brisbane as well. There's a bunch of players in these initial rounds that are missing players. And firstly, it starts with GWS, with Hogan, Stringer, and Tom Green missing. So it's going to be important that we can get these games. I mean, what are we hoping for with these first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? These first 6, 7 games, you'd want to walk out with at least 4 wins. You'd want to be 4-2 going into the game against Geelong, I think. And that includes the Anzac Day game against Essendon. All right, let's go to the AFL website. All right. Mickey Markov as a sub, you reckon, Benny? Teams. Matches. All right, let's get this going. Give me 1 second. We'll open up the teams, which will be out right about now. Share screen. All right. Okay, so firstly, looking at Perryman, Membry in lineups. Okay, so you got Braz, Darcy, Reef, Q, Howie, Dacos, Perryman, Pendles, Lipinski, Bobby, Brody, Bow, McStay, Hoskin, Elliott, Shooter, DC, Cripper, Dacos, Markov, Sidey, Elliott, Membry, Allan, Ned Long, Will Parker, Billy Frampton. There you go. So, Ned Long on the extended, Will Parker on the extended, Billy Frampton on the extended. That's what we're probably looking at, right? We're probably looking at Markov, Sidey, Elliott, Membry, Ed Allan as a sub. You'd probably think that, right? Cripper will play on a wing, and then you got Hoskin Elliott who will play forward, and then you got Perryman who will play probably in this position here next to Nick Dacos and Pendlebury in the middle. Let's have a look at GWS and sort of look at what their forward line looks like. Lachlan Keefe, how is he still? I mean, truthfully, I don't watch a bunch of GWS and Lachlan Keefe in particular, but how is he still playing? Anyways, so you got Cadman, Jones, Keefe, Brent Daniels, Green, Bedford, who's on the bench. Cody, Ango. I think Benny was talking about Matt Grozewski quite a bit. Connor Stone is another player who plays in the back line. Collingwood are keen on him. Callum Brown probably not going to get a game in the extended. So Oliver Hannaford, he sounds familiar as well, doesn't he? Let's find out. Why do I know that name? Oliver Hannaford. I think they were talking about him last week, weren't they? Hannaford. So pick 18, a dynamic forward for the GWV Rebels. So he's someone who probably will get a debut, 180 centimeters. So quite a small, underwhelming, like very rarely, but it is truthfully going to be an underwhelming forward line. But that could change, like depending on how the ball is moved for GWS in this difficult game with the weather. We'll see. So who does Reef McInnes play on? You'd probably say Darcy Moore plays on Keefe to roll off him and intercept. Do you dare give Reef McInnes the assignment to play one-on-one on Cadman? I think that would be very interesting. Very interesting. Because who else are you going to put him on? You're probably putting Quaynor on Brent Daniels. You're putting Brazzy on Green. And then Bedford and Darcy Jones, I guess, would be like a Jeremy Howe and a Josh Dacos, right? So that's what the matchups would look like there. And then on the bench, they don't really have much coming off the bench as far as tall forwards are concerned. Let's catch up with the comments. Ella Andreas, welcome, bro. Welcome. 3 goals? I hope so, man. Yeah, very balanced. Frampton won't play. He's in the extended. He won't play. Yeah, a little bit of irony in there. In all seriousness, Keefe would be an asset. Hey, true. That is a good point. Look, I don't love Lachlan Keefe as a forward. Actually, let's have a look. What is Keith like as a forward at GWS? He'd definitely be a handy backman for Collingwood right now, 100%. Just not as this. He must play some sort of defensive forward role. There's no way this guy averages more than a goal a game for GWS. Lachlan Keith. He must be well in his 30s as well. He's 34. I'll share this tab for a moment. So let's share also. This is who Darcy Moore will probably be rolling off, to be honest. He's 34. He played 5 games last year. How many goals did he kick? He kicked 1 goal in 4 games, 5 games. So that's what we're coming up against as a defensive unit on the weekend. You'd want to hope that Darcy Moore and Reef McInnes really take advantage of this, and hopefully someone like Aaron Cadman doesn't get off the leash. Brown not playing is huge. He slapped us last season. Kicked 4 goals on us, didn't he, Andreas? Yeah, Reef on Cadman. Reef will snap Cadman. Howe or Reef to Cadman? I reckon Reef will play on Cadman, then Howe as well as Darcy Moore will slide off, won't he? What do you mean? What's Ed Allan ever done? I mean, he had some promising games last year, 2 games at that, and more specifically his game against the D's. I didn't really have anything against him. If that's what you're asking, if I've done something, what's he done wrong to me? He's done nothing wrong to me. I'm just saying that I think the need for him is not as necessary right now because how well Perryman has solidified his position in the midfield and given us more centre bounce depth, even with Tom Mitchell out. Yeah. So pretty exciting, if you ask me. What else have we got? So we addressed the forward line, how that matches up with the defense. So what are the assignments in the back line for GWS? Let's see. If I pull this out, there we go. We can see more. I'll go out one more. Is that okay? No, we'll go forward here. All right. So you got Connor Iden, Sam Taylor, Himmelberg, Lockie Whitfield, Jack Buckley, Lockie Ash in the back line, along with your Connor Stone, who will play back line as well at some point. And then you got Matt Krzyzewski, who I think is a tall as well. Please help me out. And then Lee Kali is probably, maybe he's going to be a sub there, or maybe Cody Angove is a sub and Leak will be there to play as a defender as well. So Sam Taylor, I would, if I'm my check at the start of the game, I'm going to line up on Taylor. Taylor's not coming to me. I'm going to Taylor. I'm going to make his day a living hell. The wet weather already makes a living hell for anyone above 6'2". So that's any key tall position player. Harry Himmelberg will probably play on, say, I'd say it'd be between like a Tim Membry or a Hoskett Elliott. Connor Iden will play on like a deep Jamie Elliott for sure. Lockie Whitfield will play off of like not a Bobby Hill. He'll probably be playing off the back of a Bo McCreary maybe, and Bo maybe has that assignment there. I think that's something we could look into as a matchup. Jack Buckley will probably play on a McStay or a Membry or a Mycheck. It'll all be sort of rotating at the time, won't it? Lockie Ash will play on the loosest forward. I don't know. Who do they have for Bobby Hill? We are going to stretch them when it comes to our forward department, right? We're definitely going to stretch them. But so they will also stretch us with our defenders. Outside of Q, we don't really have... I mean, is Maynard a medium-sized defender? Jeremy Howard, they're not as agile. So it'll be interesting to see with the likes of what Darcy Jones, Toby Bedford, Brent Daniels can do with against the likes of Quaynor. Josh Dacos is going to have some work to do defensively. Like if there's ever a game look, yes, Dan Houston's out. What Josh Dacos can do for us defensively is going to be huge. He's going to have the ball a heap in his hand. But I think he's going to be asked some questions defensively. I would say if Collingwood have one of the best forward line departments, if it wasn't for the suspensions to who was it? Harvey Thomas and who was it? Harvey Thomas. Who else, guys, that got suspended for GWS? I'm just trying to scroll up to see who it was. But if you guys put a comment in now, that would help. Help me out, guys. But it was if they had Harvey Thomas and whoever else it was for Riccardi, more so Harvey Thomas, then it would ask great questions, and they probably have the best small forward department in, or is it McMullen as well? They have the best small to medium sized forward department. You'd probably say it's either Collingwood or GWS that owns that as the number one, small to medium sized forward. So definitely some questions to be asked defensively of Josh Dacos. Isaac Quaynell's going to have a great game. Reef is probably going to have an assignment on Aaron Cadman. He really will. I really think he's going to be really leaning on Aaron Cadman the whole game, and while also leaning on Darcy Moore and Jeremy Howe to give him a helping hand in the air. I think Cadman's really poised to have a big year in the AFL. So, yeah. Brilliant, guys. Hey, really good turnout tonight. I thank you all for being here. We're going to be back at it again tomorrow at 4:30 for the final teams to be released at 5 o'clock. And then we have the pre-game show, which I've scheduled for a 1:30 start on Sunday. That will go through till about 2:30. And then I'm going to go watch the game. And then we'll do the post-game show roughly at about 6:20, 6:30. So I look forward to you all being there. I can't wait, much like you guys. And we're getting closer and closer. So till then, go Pies.